So now, join Mr. Lincoln as he is in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The date is November the 19th, 1863, and he's talking with a reporter from the Louisville Journal.
On February 12th, I was born. My father told me that after my birth, he walked across the fields to where the sparrows lived. They were our cousins, our nearest neighbors. My father said he walked in and said, Nancy, meaning my mother, said, Nancy has a boy. Well, living with the sparrows, my cousin Dennis Hanks. He heard about the birth of this new cousin. He took to his feet and he ran across those snow-covered fields and came into the cabin where we were. My mother said she pulled the curtains back for him to see me. He stared at me for a while and said, Why, Auntie, he's all wrinkled up red. Then she prevented him to hold me and said, Cousin Dennis is home just about like this. And I started to cry. He quickly took me back to my mother and said, Here, Auntie, you take him. He's all right, but don't think him out much. Remember Cousin Dennis? Said I never amounted much. He moved in with us. Mama passed away in October, my 9th year. Following year in November, my father said, Young'uns, y'all need a new mammy. I need a new wife. I'm going to go get me a new wife and get you a new mammy. Miss Johnston. And he proposed marriage to her in this fashion. He said, Sarah, I came for one a purpose of marrying. Sarah, I've known you since I was a boy. You've known me since you were a girl. I need a wife. You need a husband. If you're willing, straightway we'll get married. Wasn't very romantic, but it certainly was effective. My future stepmother agreed. They got all married up, sold her furniture, her children, and something I dearly love, some books on the wagon, and started back again. 3 months they've been gone. Left us home alone there in Indiana for 3 months it was. Well, one day Cousin Dennis was outside. He said, Come see. Well, Sister Sarah and I ran outside to see what? We saw a wagon. As it drew closer, I could see my father was driving that wagon. Well, he brought that wagon right up in front of the cabin. And he got off and said, Young'uns, this here's your new mammy. Her name is Sarah. And then he introduced a little fellow about like this. Said, This here is Jonathan. A little girl, this here's Matilda. Another little girl, this here's Elizabeth. Our cabin is 14 foot this way, 18 foot this way. Cousin Dennis, Sister Sarah, my father, myself living there. Now 4 more people moved in here. I told you my new stepmother's name was Sarah. My sister's name was Sarah. Would you believe that girl whose name was Elizabeth? Her name was Sarah Elizabeth. We had more Sarah than that log cabin you could shake a stick at. We bonded together, homie. We were a good family. I mean, we got along good. Come on, you John. What's the matter, boy? So, just outside the door of the log cabin, there was a large mud puddle. I took Jonathan over that mud puddle, walked him through that mud, and right back through the mud, and once again through that mud. I carried him back inside the house, held him upside down, and put the footprints right across the top of that cabin. We clapped our hands and laughed. We thought that's the funniest thing could ever be, and we were having a marvelous time working with Jonathan. And then our parents came home. Now, hasten to add, adults don't see things like children do, to Jonathan. No, they don't. My stepmammy got off that wagon. She walked in that cabin, and she looked up. I believe you could have heard her scream all the way back to Kentucky. She said, Abraham, whitewash that ceiling. Whitewash that ceiling. We didn't do that anymore, did we, Jonathan? Now, what's the thing, Jonathan? Blackstone's commentary. Told all about how to be a lawyer. What I want to know is in books. Know where this is going. So I got those books out and started reading. The more I read, the better I liked it. And I know Mr. Graham and Mr. John Todd Stewart, maybe they'll help me get my license to be a lawyer, because I knew that most politicians or wannabe politicians were lawyers. And with their assistance, I took the exam, passed, and was permitted to practice law right there in the state of Illinois. I soon realized to be a successful attorney, there must be two attorneys in town so one can sue the other. And just as I was getting into the city limits of Springfield, I saw this lady approaching from the opposite direction. So I thought, perhaps they've heard about this successful young attorney from New Salem. They're sending out a welcome committee of one. Well, I stopped my horse. She comes right alongside. She stops her horse. And she stared at me for a long time. Then she said, "Sir, I believe you're the ugliest man I've ever seen." Elizabeth's sister, Mary Todd from Lexington, spent some time here with her sister, said, "I would like to introduce you to this Mary Todd." I said, "Like for you to do that." Well, he did. I tell you the truth, I took a like her right away. Yes, I did. Well, one evening they were having a, what did they call that thing? A cotillion. That's what it was. They were having a cotillion. That's a fancy name for a dance. They were having a cotillion over here at home with the Edwardses, and I'd been invited to attend. I blacked my boots for this occasion. I had a lady press my shirt, got some bear grease, and I slicked my hair all down. And I went over to this cotillion, and I walked in, and there she was. Oh, there sat this Mary Todd, and I tell you, oh, I was spitting. My heart said, "Pitty-pat, pitty-pat, pitty-pat." I looked around, and all these men were dancing with the ladies. I'm going to ask her to dance, but I don't know how to dance. Only dancing I've ever done been behind a mule pulling a plow. So I like that dancing. Then we dance, I took her back to her seat, and I sat her down. Later I heard her tell her cousin, she said, "Oh, that Abraham Lincoln, he's a man of his word. He said he wanted to dance me in the worst way, and that's exactly what he did." That was 1858. He put my name out there, nationally known as Abraham Lincoln from Kentucky. In 1860, I ran for the presidency of the United States of America. Now, I had a lot of people working for me. There was a family up in Westfield, New York, name of Bedale. Now, Mr. Bedale had gone to a campaign rally for me, and when he came home, he brought a poster with a picture of myself and my running mate, Hannibal Hamlin, on it. He gave it to his 12-year-old daughter, and she wrote me a letter. And she inquired if I had any daughters. Then she said if I would grow whiskers, my face would not look so thin. The lady would like it and convince her husband to vote for me. April 12th, 4:30 a.m., 1861. The Great Rebellion, or the American Civil War, begins. 11 of these states attempt to secede from the Union. I need God on my side, but I have to have Kentucky. To lose Kentucky would be like losing the whole game. You see, there are no bridges across the Ohio River. Kentucky forms a natural barrier between the North and the South. I had to have Kentucky. But the people in Kentucky, they loathe me. They hate me for the Emancipation Proclamation I issued in January this year. It simply states that all slaves held in states of rebellion against the United States of America thenceforth and forever shall be free. Delaware, Maryland, Missouri, and Kentucky were not in rebellion, but they loathe me. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I'm now going back to the nation's capital to see if I can help Mr. Seward secure this place called Alaska. I bid you an affectionate farewell. Okay.
How do you look like Abraham Lincoln?
Do what now?
How do you look like Abraham Lincoln so much?
Boy, he was a good-looking fellow. wasn't he? I don't know why I look like Abraham Lincoln, but when I found out I did, I said, the Lord issues everybody a little bit different, and so when you have lemon, make lemonade. That's what I've done. How long it take me to learn to do this? I'm going to tell you about my acting experience. My acting experience before I started doing this. When I was in elementary school, I played a snowman. Now, snowmen don't have much to do, just stand there. This has been my acting experience until I started doing this. So, I didn't have any acting experience. I know I'm taking a lot of your time, but I got to tell you that this one more story. This is a true story. This actually happened. I was in Saipan, and the island of Tinian is just right across there. There's a 5-minute or 10-minute plane ride from Saipan to Tinian. Well, the curator had me out there. She said, we'll go over here to the commuter section of the airport, a little bitty airport. So we went over to the commuter section, we're sitting there, and here comes this plane down the runway, got the door open on it. Come down the runway, door flopping back and forth. Well, he pulls that thing right around, and he pulls right up there, and he shuts the motor off, and she said, that's what we're going in. Well, 6 people can ride in this machine. He opens the door up, and he says, how much you weigh? And myself and another fellow, he puts us in the back seat. And we could look around for the seat belt, and there's not any seat belt there. We finally found a few pieces, and we commenced to putting around ourselves. Well, then he puts a man and a woman in the seat right in front of us. And then the lady had me out there, she gets beside the pilot. He fires this machine up, and we go down the runway, and the door's still open on this machine. And we're picking up speed, getting ready to airlift any time. And just before we get off the ground, he reaches over and closes the door. I soon realized why the door was open. We're in the tropics, and that is one hot plane on the inside. We landed in Tinian, he throws that door open, and I'm glad he did. We'll do the same thing, come home.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming, Jim Sayre. And on behalf of Anderson Community Education,
Okay?
we would like to offer this plaque to you, and let me read it.
Oh, please do.
Okay?
Oh, yes.
All right, he's my buddy.
Oh, yes.
Anderson Community Education presents a Lifetime Achievement Award to you, Jim Sayre.
What have I achieved?
Many things.
Okay.
Many things. In sincere gratitude for outstanding community service provided through Anderson Community Education and the Kentucky Humanities Council for the citizens of Anderson County, Kentucky. You have set an example to be followed in the future and cherished by those of us who have been fortunate enough to have experienced your portrayal and storytelling of President Abraham Lincoln. We thank you for all that you've done for Anderson County, for Lawrenceburg, and we love you.
I know, Mr. Mayor.
I know you do.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you. Oh, another one, huh? Oh, that's a lot.
Would you like me to read this one?
Please do. I have no problem with you.
Proclamation by Robert Goodlett, Mayor, City of Lawrenceburg, and Aubrey Gritton, Anderson County Judge Executive of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is hereby proclaimed that February the 12th, 2016, the City of Lawrenceburg and Anderson County hereby recognize Mr. Jim Sayre. Whereas the Mayor and County Judge Executive are taking this opportunity to recognize Mr. Jim Sayre And whereas Mr. Sayre has been engaged in portraying the nation's 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, for the past 33 years, and whereas the mayor and county judge executive recognizes and appreciates that on this day, Lincoln's birthday, Mr. Sayre is retiring. We doubt that. But he says he is, so we're going to at least proclaim that for now. And whereas Mr. Sayre has given tirelessly of himself in an effort to educate young and old in the life of President Lincoln, and whereas Mr. Sayre has not only taken great pride in dressing and looking like the former president, but has lived his life in a manner that duplicated many of the great qualities that made Lincoln such an admired leader, and whereas, as a dedicated resident of Lawrenceburg and Anderson County, Mr. Sayre has given greatly of his time not only to educate our citizenry as Mr. Lincoln, but in the successes of many civic programs, the Honorable Jim Sayre, and whereas Mayor and Judge Executive extend to Mr. Sayre a sincere thank you for his work as Abraham Lincoln and his personal commitment to serve the people of this community. Now therefore be it resolved that we, Robert Goodlett, Mayor of Lawrenceburg, and Aubrey Gritton, Anderson County Judge Executive, do hereby declare Friday, February 12, 2016 as Jim Sayre Day.
All right.